Coming up on this week's Tech Show, SRAM delve into the e-bike world with their long-awaited motor powertrain.
And we've got some spy shots of some new brakes from Hayes.
We've got another new bike from Merida, 2 bikes in 2 weeks.
Wow. And we discuss, Merida and other bike brands related, we discuss why bike sizing isn't the same across, well, all the brands.
Right, e-bike alert, but this is big news. SRAM have a new motor. So it's actually called the Powertrain, and I've heard holistic mentioned a few times here because it's not just the motor, it's the motor, the battery, speed sensor, bridge display, and how it works with their existing Axis pod controllers. So the pod controllers do the gears, as you'd expect, and they also do your dropper post on the left.
Nice.
Top left does your modes, so you have 2 modes on this, range and rally, keeping it simple. However, you can completely customise what those 2 modes do with the app. But also the right-hand controller that does your gears also can turn the automatic shifting on or off. So sensors on the bike will adjust with your cadence. It'll change the gears for you. Super interesting. Obviously, we have seen Shimano with their XTDI2 have a similar system, although this obviously is completely wireless using the SRAM ecosystem. At the moment, we've got 3 bikes launched with them. We've got a Newton-proof megawatt propane and a transition. 2 battery options, 630 watts and 720 watt hours, should I say, plus a digital 250 watt hour range extender. The motor is actually in partnership with Bros, so this is kind of one of those hardware and software kind of deals where they've decided what software goes on this thing. 90 Newton meters of torque. Really interesting, you've also got a coast shift on there as well, so without pedaling you can change gear and it will spin up the chainring for you.
Oh, nice. Very handy. Now we've got the Hayes prototype brake, as raced by Andreas Kolb. He was seen running a new brake over the weekend at Snowshoe. Gloss red levers.
Not purple.
No, disappointing, because purple is the old school DH.
Purple Hayes.
Yeah, purple Hayes, it's a good colour. Yeah, it is not just a different colourway, it looks like a different lever shape as well. So yeah, quite a different setup really from what we've seen before. Still on black calipers apparently though, so maybe it's just a new custom lever.
Although, interestingly, he raced on the standard black brake, so I wonder what happened there. It makes me think maybe there was a lot of crashing going on this weekend. Maybe they were in limited supply and he maybe crashed and broke them. I don't know. I'm speculating. Why would you race on brakes you didn't practice in?
I don't know.
Not ideal, I'd say.
Watch this space.
Anyway, on to Merida. We talked about their 160 last week, and they have a 120, which they're saying is their jack of all trades bike, which kind of makes sense. It's aluminium, decent price points on these bikes. Actually, the 300 model is £1,900 or 2,280 euros, which is cheaper. It does go up from there. The top model 700 is £3,100, 2,700 euros. It's not a 120, as the name suggests, travel-wise. It's actually 130mm travel front and rear. Interesting. The frame actually uses their P-Flex Flex Stay suspension design, 29er, 66-degree head angle, 78.5-degree seat angle. Claimed weight is 15.1 kilograms for a medium size. So kind of, decent price point, aluminium. They're not going crazy on the weight. It's the sort of numbers, 66-degree head angle, looks like a good, fairly short travel trail bike to me.
Looks fun. Even if it is over-travelled for its name.
Interesting how Merida are doing that. We announced their new 160 last week. The FR, I should say, was actually a 171mm travel. So you can get caught out when you're buying Merida. Check the small print.
But you're getting more for your money in a way, because you're getting more travel.
Is that the psychology behind the naming?
Maybe it is. Better value.
Some new kit from One-Up Components, the EDC pump and tube strap. They're actually using those spare bottle cage mounts on your bike that you probably can't fit a bottle cage on.
Yep.
What do we have, Owen?
We've got the EDC inline pump mount. They've also got a new pump as well. And then they've also got a tube strap, which, holds lots of other gear. You can put a tube on it, you can put CO2, obviously levers, because they're always handy if you're trying to change a tube, if you're running tubes, or if you've got a big flat. Other thing that's fun is apparently you can run a baguette with them. So, yeah, useful for snacks.
I'm not sure about that. I think it's going to bend. But I like the way they've used it. Are they hinting they may have a new rider riding for One-Up with the baguette visuals? Who knows?
A Frenchman, maybe in Canada.
You'd think so, wouldn't you? That would be my guess. Right, now we're into the topic of the show. Why isn't bike sizing all the same? Which I think is a valid question, because you have to look through the websites for this, sizes and geometries. And people have different size mediums. Add to the fact that not all manufacturers use that same sort of scale of small, medium, large, extra large. They have things like short, longer, longest, Specialized have S, 1, 2, 3. So lots of bikes now go off kind of reaches and lengths rather than sizes. And this comes from the kind of the latest and greatest, longest, lowest, slacker geometry, because back in the day, it was all off inches, wasn't it, back in my day? I rode an 18-inch bike. And why was that, Owen?
Well, we were basing our sizing off road bikes, and we'd base the seat tube, used to be sort of square with the top tube, so you get an 18-inch, that would be your seat tube, but it'd also be a top tube measurement. So it's kind of, you could gauge one off the other, whereas now we've got reach and stack together to work out the bike geometry. Okay,
so what we're going to do is take a look at some of these bikes on the market, see how mediums compare. And actually, I think this is quite interesting. So we've got two bikes. We've got the Canyon Strive and Nukeproof Giga, which are kind of at either end of the spectrum on this. The Strive is quite a big medium, and Nukeproof Giga is kind of a more conservative medium. Both are 29ers. Nukeproof does have slightly more travel at 170, whilst the Canyon is 160. So let's take a look at the mediums. Right, the reach. Now this is the one that I always go if I'm getting a new bike. Nukeproof Giga is 455 for medium, which is kind of conservative, but about my number, I'd say. And I always feel like I'm average height, I should ride a medium.
Yeah.
Canyon Strive, 20 mil longer, 475, which is a whole size for some
It is. I think back in the day, you might be able to like switch from let's say like a 70 to maybe a 50 mil stem, but now a bike's coming with a 50 mil stem as stock. It's kind of hard to lose the length there as well.
Yeah, rarely do I swap a stem length now. I kind of like say I go off a reach measurement, and that's my size. Wheelbase, this is quite a big one again. It's similar though, similar story. Nukeproof Giga 1241, Canyon Strive 1262, so 21 mil longer. Standover height, Canyon Strive's bigger again. Stack, interesting. Nukeproof Giga 622 mil and Canyon Strive 634 millimeters.
So it's not as tall on the front. So it's only maybe a handlebar, slightly different handlebar, and you're there, or even bar roll for that much, depending on how wild you get your bar roll.
So what I do is go off the website. So they have their rider height. I find it's quite interesting. They kind of have a sliding scale normally. If you're kind of near the edge of a medium, you might want to choose a large. So the rider height Nukeproof recommend for a medium is 167 to 177. So actually I'm 178, so I'm just outside of medium, they tell me. Canyon say 172 to 185. So that's pretty big actually. But the good thing about these bikes now is that even if you want to choose a longer bike, people do like longer bikes. I do actually quite like a longer wheelbase, super stable. But actually people like Orbea have something like it's called their steep and deep. So basically, deep means that the kind of standover is low, so you get a big insertion depth on the post. So even if you're a shorter rider, you still get enough insertion to be able to get the sort of standover height for that bike. So you can kind of now pick your bike as you like the reach and the length of the thing, I suppose.
Yeah, and I guess it allows for, so I'm fairly sure, I'm only like 172, but I've got really long legs. So my leg length and saddle height is basically the same as Rich, who's a lot taller than me. But I guess that's the other fact, yeah, oddly connected. But I guess that's the other thing that you can do when you've got different seat tubes length and you're able to put in a longer drop. You can do that, whereas previously old measurements and yeah, when you had a relatively high seat tube per the larger and XL sizes, you were kind of limited.
Yeah, and I've done kind of the opposite of that. I've got bikes that are maybe slightly too big, and then I've actually had to drop the seat post extension, like I've made a 180 post into a 160, space it down because otherwise the saddle's too high. So you can you've got much more freedom nowadays, I think, to choose your size of bike because the standover, it doesn't seem to be much of a problem anymore. Okay, so into the comments from last week's show, we talked about the best mountain bikes for beginners. Brad VDB says, I love my Polygon Siskiyou D5. Picked this one because my old 26-inch bike frame broke, so I transferred all the top shelf bits I had onto that frame to make it an even better bike. I like doing that, frame swap.
Yeah, good idea, and you get the best of both worlds. My first mountain bike, this is from BK 1015. Maybe that's another famous BK, isn't it? Maybe it's the same one. First mountain bike was an early 90s Specialized rock hopper. I loved it until somebody stole it. That's less good. I'd buy the current model if I was in the market for an entry-level hardtail. There are some other brands out there with really nice offerings too, so that's interesting.
Yeah, loads of rock hoppers out there. Rip Tear says, one important detail you missed out was the various cycle schemes. They can offer up to 42% off the sale price of a bike with a GCI, for example. I see, there's lots of sort of tax incentives, so we did miss that. We talked about it last week, so Yeah, you could get yourself a bargain as well if you use those work schemes.
I mean, that is UK specific, but I feel like they've got something similar in Ireland as well.
Okay.
And maybe you've got them as well. We should do more research. We'll come back to you. How's my hair?
Your hair looks great, Owen. Now let's get into a pretty impressive bike vault this week. 2 banger ones. Starting with Chris in New York. I want to ask Chris what he does for a living first, which is very nice. 5 bikes hanging on the wall. But check out the tools. Very neat. The whole flipping range of part tools. Spares as well. Very organised. Volume space is going on.
This is impressive.
Slightly less organised in that toolbox. But
that's amazing. Look at that.
Yeah. Keeps going, basically. Got a bench.
Wow. You've got spares there as well.
Yeah.
I think
spares
got more
on
spares.
the wall. Exactly.
Yeah.
Like, looks like there's brake pads. It's flipping cool. I love it, actually. And it's okay tidy as well. I've said that it must be a
big question though. Has he painted it or is it epoxy?
Well, we had the conversation last week, and actually people got involved. Epoxy had more recommendations than polishing the concrete.
Right, okay.
Easier, and you can choose different, whatever.
All right, there you go. If you've got more comments, stick them in the comments below.
Moving on to Ryan in Vermont, 2 East Coasters this week, who rides a Marin Alpine Trail XR. Hey guys, love the videos. Want to show you my almost done bike area. It's not even finished. Actually, part of a pretty big garage. But this area is focused on working on bikes and hanging out. It does almost look like there's a bar here as well. Bar stools.
That's very nice.
I want to see that Vice. I don't know what brand that Vice is, but it looks really good, doesn't it?
It all looks really good.
I mean, super impressive bike caves this week. It's going to be hard to beat those, but definitely get involved. Send yours in. Link is down below. We'll check them out next week. Anyway, next week we've got a brand new Merida 140. It's actually a 150. Actually, that's a joke. I don't know that.
I think it is. It's coming out. Yeah.
Is it? Oh, I don't know. And anyway, thanks for watching, and get involved with the comments and send stuff in via the uploader, and we'll catch you soon.